Hi people. Now I'm sure we have a few weebs in the community. Okay, it's inevitable. Okay. Anyways, I say all of that to say that we're gonna be watching this. Okay. Where should I put my camera? Right here? We're watching. What is it called? What is it like to be black in Japan? I just thought this was really interesting. So we're gonna watch it.
Spectrum is a social experiment that explores the diversity of perspective that exists within a shared identity. The opinions expressed by the cast are not the opinions of Google, YouTube, or Jubilee. Thanks for watching.
Personally, like I've been blessed with this kind of hair, like, you know.
What do you mean blessed, though?
I know where to act appropriately for
But you're
each
saying
situation.
act. That's acting.
As soon as I walk in a room, like kids start crying.
No!
We are the change that Japanese society can be.
I had never talked about any of this ever before.
My name is Chippa.
Doraemon.
Seon.
Jasmine.
Arthel.
Steven.
私はアイシャです. I'm black in Japan.
Japan is a nation rich in history and
Well, this is like a full show.
its art, music, and food
And
are very
anime.
distinct and have major
Anime.
influences
Don't forget
around
about the
world.
anime.
But did you know that until about 150 years ago, Japan had been closed to almost all foreigners for nearly 2 centuries?
I did know this, yeah.
Because of colonial rule and religious reasons, the military government, known as the Tokugawa shogunate,
Oh my god, we're literally
limited
talking
foreign
about this
ties
in
and shut down the
decades.
country's borders.
We're literally talking about this in
1853,
decades.
The U.S. Navy led a small expedition that strongly compelled Japan to enter trade with the West.
And then it
end
literally
their
messed up
isolation from
Japan,
the
yeah.
world.
And then it messed up Japan.
Today,
America's
Japan is still
interference.
one of the most ethnically homogenous
Now we
countries,
have
with
lolly stuff.
98.5% of the population being Japanese. Of the remaining 1.5%, only 0.02% are black. We brought together a spectrum of black people. Some are Japanese natives, while others are expats, to share their unique stories about culture, community, and the black experience in Japan. It's difficult for me to get my hair done in Japan.
Oh, it
3,
probably is.
2, 1.
I imagine it's really difficult.
Actually, your hair looked nice.
Now I know where to go to get my hair done. How do you get your hair done?
Locks.
Yeah,
I
she.
my own hair.
Really?
I also have a sensitive scalp, so I don't like people touching my hair so much.
She ain't
But,
gotta go
I also
anywhere.
tried experimenting with Japanese products.
I'm literally getting locks too in February. I don't know when I'm gonna release this video, but I'm literally getting locks. I'll probably release it in February. But I'm literally getting locks and I'm so freaking excited. I honestly want to maintain it myself or try to, but I don't know how. But honestly, locks freaking goated.
Because I'm here, why not?
And how did that work for you?
Yeah, no, it does. There is a little bit of buildup, but what I do is I modify it to my tastes, so I can adapt.
I think the only downside that I come across is the maintenance part. Like I've been blessed with this kind of hair, like, you know, I don't have an afro. It's like a mixture between like straight hair and afros, curly. So like I don't really have that much struggle when it comes to cutting
What do you
hair.
mean blessed, though?
Blessed, yeah. Blessed.
What do you mean blessed, though? You mean not
I don't mean it
kinky?
that way.
Is
I mean it
that,
that
is
way.
that what you're saying? You got that good hair?
No, I'm not saying
Is
that. I'm saying.
No, I just need you to...
No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Like when you first come here, you don't even know where to go, right? Like there are only Japanese salons and like Japanese hair cutting places. So I went to like this one Japanese shop and like I sat there on a chair literally for almost 8 hours straight.
Why'd you do
all I
that?
had was like, she only did like 8 cornrows. So I mean, it was like an hour per like per
Is this not a good place for the cam?
She was Japanese, yes.
An hour
And it
per
wasn't even good.
cornrow.
Like they were so big and so like just like frizzy. Like when I call my friend,
Girl,
my
just
family,
do
like,
your
black
own
folks are like,
hair.
What's wrong with your hair?
Just do
That's
your
for
own
me.
hair,
Like,
dude.
I'm just trying to find someone that could cut the top and do the fade, right? I go to a full Japanese barber. I started going there and I told him like, yo, you know, like I need my hair to be cut like this. But But he put in the time and started looking at YouTube videos himself. And I've
That's
been going
so
there for 7 years.
Can
cool.
he line you up?
And even he's
Yeah,
taught
can
like
he-
the...
Can he give
Can
you a
he-
line?
Yeah, I got the double lineup, bro.
The double lineup.
My name is Seon Tanaka. I was born and raised inside of Bahamas. Honestly, after leaving Bahamas, I came to Japan not really knowing much Japanese. Just going from a place where you're comfortable with to going to a place that you're uncomfortable with. I really feel like it's important for you to keep pushing yourself forward. Going into junior high school, I got basically zeros in every class. Even with that, I was still able to get into a pretty great high school and pretty great university. And I'm now a full-time student and a part-time fashion model.
Let's go.
I have felt pressured to use skin
Speaking of modeling, and this is in Korea, but there's this Blasian model. Her name is Jenny Park, and her work is so good. She's so freaking pretty. Oh my god. Like, she's on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel too. But there's like this, her pictures are just so good. Oh my god. I just wanted to point that out.
lightening products.
I really
3,
doubt any black person is gonna say yes to this. Huh? Really?
もう完全に岐阜県って田舎の
田舎だ。
そう
あ
地方の
田舎
ところで育ったから私の兄弟以外に同じ肌の色の人を見たことがなくてもう常に何かしらの嫌がらせとかは受けてたからずっと私のお母さんになんで黒人と結婚したのってなんで私をこの肌の色に産んだのっていうのをすごく言い続けていたしただ今は本当にすごくリスペクトしてるし自分の肌の色が大
I
好き
mean,
だ
that
し
makes sense.
ちょうど3ヶ月前ナイジェリアにしばらく行ったことがあってその時にすごいたくさんの人がブリーチを使って肌の色を白くしていたのを見た時にすごい悲しくて
I kind of understand why they do that. Because they assume that becoming much lighter, you're going to have more opportunities in any kind of industry.
You're treated
Yeah,
differently.
you treat
for
differently. Like, for
sure.
example,
Yeah,
like
honest.
if I go back to Africa, right? They'll call me boss right away just because of
They
like
call you what?
boss.
Boss.
Yeah, a boss, please wait, stop, no boss, because I just have a light skin. So if you're light, you have more opportunities, and I think it also applies here. But personally, I've never really gone through that kind of thing. Yeah.
I knew that I looked different and I didn't want to look different. It was just a painful experience. So
The thing about Aisha though is that she's already pretty light skinned. But it doesn't really matter. I get that. We have the same thing in America, and I've talked about it. And every video like this always leads back to Ain't I a Woman, because that video was goated and you should watch it. But it doesn't really matter if you're black, if you're in America, if you're in England, if you're in anywhere where the standard is to be white, then you're gonna have these issues. So it makes sense. It sucks because nobody should feel that way.
I didn't know about skin whitening, but I wish my skin looked like everybody else. My mom's Japanese and my dad's black, and I'm born and raised in Yokohama, Japan. The first time I realized I was black was when I went to a Japanese school and not a single kid looked like me. I wasn't aware of what race was at the time, but I knew that my hair was curly and kinky and different, my skin color was different, and I was being bullied hardcore for it. Since I was a kid, I thought I'm gonna be a singer no matter what. I was signed to Sony Records when I was 16 years old.
That's so
And
cool.
once I started collaborating with Imai-san, my music like blew up.
でも英語の歌詞好きよすごい。
ありがとうございます。
いろんなバックグラウンドを彼女は持っていて、こういう日本人的な、すごくこうクールな部分と黒人といったところのグルーヴ感とかオープンなマインドとか。
I hope I can make something that can bring Japanese culture and black culture together and make something cool. You know, I hope I will try my best.
Oh,
she's so freaking pretty.
あって、見た目もブラックの女性なんですけど、私も日本人であって、日本にも
Oh my god, she's gorgeous.
私はナイジェリア生まれです。私の両親は私が5歳の時に離婚をしたので、そこから私の兄弟と母で、母の実家で過ごしたので、見た目が、ブラックっていうこともあって、よく外国人って言われることがあったので、同年代の女の子たちや、男たち以上に自分が日本人であるってことを周りに認めてもらうために自分をそういう風に変えなきゃいけない環境下にいたっていうのは、子供ながらにやっぱりストレスがかかるような状況だったと思うし、そういう風に思わないといけない環境下に置かれる子供たちが一人でも減ればいいなって。
Dating in Japan is hard for me. 3, 2, 1.
So what's wrong?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with
Oh,
you?
wait, sorry.
I mean, like, who are your interests in the first place? Like, who are you trying to approach? Honestly, like, really talkative people
In this country?
in this country.
In
that's
this
the thing.
country?
That's why you don't
So I
have
think that's where I think that's where the mismatch is. And honestly, from my experience, like,
That's what I was
usually
thinking.
Japanese people want to date, the typical, like, Caucasian male. So I really struggle with that area.
I
to
would
be
have to
honest.
disagree with you on
I have
that.
to disagree with you
It
on
is
that.
separated. Like, you're gonna find Japanese who only like Latins or only like blacks or only, but they definitely like the whole spectrum.
Why he
of
say
it.
blacks
Race.
though?
What I noticed, like, black and Japanese, American and Japanese culture is so different. You know how when we see friends, we hug, hi, how have you been? And sometimes Japanese men are like, oh, she likes me because she touched me. But it's like, oh, no, I'm just saying hi.
For me, like for first appearances, it doesn't seem like I'm really desirable. It's like my white friends are more desirable. But when I start the conversation, it's like equal playing ground. That's what I feel.
私は日本とナイジェリアのミックスで、完全に日本で育って母国語が日本語だから、でも、基本的には日本人とデートする場合は何も問題がないし、
言葉の壁がないんだね。
そう。
だから今言ってることは、だから文化の違いの問題なんかが多かった。けどなんかもちろんその文化の違いがないから、どっちが問題？その日本人が問題か、私たちが
自分だったらなぜ日本人と付き合うのが難しいかというと、話しても内容がどうしても
No,
Assign
it has a lot to do with the culture and the way you are brought up.
Is this language problem?
Well, it's not a language problem. It's
I think it's a cultural problem. But the cultural problem here, one thing is, we have to be honest.
Yeah.
Most of the Japanese people, first, are scared of us.
scared of black people. I
Right.
think black
And
people.
honest. If you're gonna talk, you gotta talk the truth. They're
that's
scared
true.
of us.
Yeah.
The little kids are taught. They're standing there with the parent, and the parent,
pulls them away.
pulls them
Yeah.
behind the back. Instead of teaching them that it's no difference. So if we're gonna talk about how to date and who to date and where you date, you gotta also think about where it comes from. And it comes from the way they're taught. And the way you're taught has a lot to do with the way you live. My name is Stephen Haynes, and I've been born and raised in San Francisco. It's a city I feel love, peace, gay, and happiness. As a Black American living in Japan, some of the challenges that I face as an entertainer. When I'm on stage, they applaud me. But when I get off stage and I take off the costume, sometimes they're afraid of me. Feel it, pose, soft, beautiful, elegant. Being LGBTQ in Japan, I think it's a lot different because here everything's hidden. Everything's in the closet and everything is way, 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 way back. What are we hiding? What are we doing? We have one life we should live. Haskashi iranai. You like yourself. So I try to help my friends to step into being who they truly are.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was thinking that because I was like, I think he's gay. So like, how is that? What is being gay and a black male like in Japan? Yeah. But he also was towards the side of like, I don't have trouble with dating. I guess it's just more like he said, it's more like closeted, but he's still able to date. I don't know, it's interesting.
My name is Arthel Isom. I'm originally from Paterson, New Jersey. I'm the CEO and art director at an anime studio here in Tokyo, Japan. There we go. Oh yeah, that's better. I've been in Japan now for almost 16 years, and so I've been removed, right, from the Black experience in America. Initially, I never thought about it. I was so focused on just being out here and just working. And now I have to really put an effort to stay connected, I guess. My brother, my twin brother, who's in LA, when I'm talking with him, just some of the things that he goes through, it makes me think like, oh, wow, like that's right. So even when like the Black Lives Movement was in America, and we did the marches out here, it reminds me of just kind of our childhood and things.
They did the marches in Japan?
Sometimes you can forget about our color.
What?
It is a thing, but it's like not a thing. As long as you can speak Japanese and things like that, then you're pretty much like immersed in the culture. No one focuses on that.
I've had experiences with the police in Japan. 3, 2, 1.
Only once. 私ミスユニバースジャパン2020の大会に出ていて、そう Thank you Thank you so much。家に帰る途中に警察に止められて、なぜなら時間がもう12時前とかにすごい大きいカバンを持って駅をこうやって歩いてたから警察に止められて。そのカバンの中身何ですか見ていいですかって聞かれたんですよね。夜の12時だのが人生で初めてだったんですよ。その警察にその時に多分これは黒人の見た目だったからそれは本当にびっくりしたんですけど、結構その怪しむもののその肩書きとか実際明らかになったら、彼らはそのね疑う心はないのかなって思った時に、ちょっともどかしい気持ちではあったけど。
I have a brother who's like 3 years older than me. Like ever since we were kids, if we're on bicycles together, if there's a police officer, 100% they will stop my brother. And I can see him changing his demeanor. He's like, oh no, I'm a good guy. You know, I'm friendly.
The code switch.
I'm not that bad. And it's so heartbreaking to see someone you love be treated like that.
Man, I get stopped like all the time. Like I think like I just look aggressive.
All of us have gotten checked at a certain point in life, but did we think that police would start using violence against us?
No.
Right? I
think that's the difference. That's the difference, and that's why I was just wondering. Is he said that they stop him all the time, but the difference between Japan and America is that although there's still that racial divide in both countries, the difference between Japan and America is that in America they will use violence, they will harass you, they will because there's a clear difference between being stopped and being scared for your freaking life. And that's in Black culture in America, that is what we are afraid of every single time, because that's what we're conditioned to believe from a young freaking age. Like kids have talks about, like sex or whatever. We also have to have a talk about like, what do you do whenever you get stopped by police? Like how you not get killed. Or even talks about, other things about racial things. I've mentioned before, I don't know if it was on this channel, I don't know. But I mentioned before that when I was younger, I was learning about Emmett Till and Nat Turner and all these things that I shouldn't have had to learn as a freaking child, because as a Black individual you have to understand white supremacy and white people and how they behave on a whole different level. And so I imagine that being in Japan, even though they are still racist, because that is just ingrained into culture everywhere, for centuries that's been the thing. It's not the same level of violence. Like I think there are very few places on this earth that are as violently racist as America. And I could be wrong about that because I've never lived anywhere else. And I'm sure there are countries that are pretty close or on the same level, like maybe like Canada or maybe England. I don't know, but I don't hear about it. So I don't really know. I'm sure there is a place that is, but the racism when it comes to America is a whole different level. And so that's what I was wondering, is when he gets stopped, is he scared for his life? And he's not.
That's really a huge point that I could give the Japanese police force, but there is some concerns.
I feel accepted by the Japanese community. 3, 2, 1.
Having came here, it's not like, I'm actively being pushed back in society in some way. I mean, the Japanese people that I do encounter, of course, they generally just open up. They listen first. If you don't agree with them, then you don't agree with them. I think that's just that simple. I've gotten this far, I think. So I don't really have too much to complain about.
In my case, the reason why I feel like I'm still not accepted here, because I think Japanese media plays a huge role when it comes to Japanese accepting you. I'm half Japanese and half Zambian, and I moved to Japan 13 years ago. And the thing that surprises me the most is that many Japanese people don't really have a good image about Africa. Before, I used to be really emotional, whenever I felt angry or, express my opinions without listening. So I've learned to listen to other people more. I think being a mixture of both, wonderful worlds, I feel this sense of responsibility and to break down that stereotype. And I just wish that Japanese people would be more curious to find out, the good side of Africa.
Like in Japan, like I'm a big guy, right?
I think that's I hate the image of Africa, and I can only really talk about it from an American point of view, but I guess it seems like it's the same thing in Japan. There's so much I don't know if the word is propaganda, but there's so much, we are taught and ingrained to think that Africa, not only do we think of Africa as a whole instead of thinking of it as there's so many countries in Africa and they're all so different and so diverse, but we are taught to think that they're all the same and that they all are poor and impoverished. And it's such a false narrative because it's just not the way that it is. Obviously, a lot of countries in Africa are underdeveloped and don't have a lot of good infrastructure, but we rarely ever talk about Nairobi and all these what is the place in Nigeria? Oh, Lagos, that's what it's called, Lagos. We rarely ever talk about Lagos or Nairobi or these big cities, even places in Morocco, these big cities that are developed and they're literally just cities here. I don't know why I hate I don't know, it's so racially motivated and so weird. I growing up, when you would watch cable TV, there was always oh, you want to donate to starving kids in Africa, but it's people are starving here too. I feel it's almost a deflection for a lot of Americans. Is look at those countries there, they're starving and dying and stuff, but it's people are dying here too. I do think that the assessment that America is literally a third world country, or at least a developing country with a Gucci belt, is such a good take, because it's so true. The way we take care of our homeless and we treat our homeless and our impoverished here is disgusting, and it's not something that is examined or looked at. We don't even treat them with empathy. We rarely care about them. It's just it makes me so mad.
Right, rather than states, I'm not so big, but and then yeah, I've gone to schools when I used to teach English, and as soon as I walk in a room, kids start crying.
Crying? How did
instantly.
that make you feel?
I felt bad for the children.
Oh,
I felt oh man, did I do something wrong? And which is and then so I had to adjust my presence, right? Like adjust my presence so that
I think that's a really interesting point, and I think it's really good that he, instead of being like, oh, like being mad at the children, you know what I mean, or like instead of him taking it personally, I think it's so important whenever people have certain reactions to understand why they are coming from that place. It's like the reason why, because I recently have been uploading like my Kanye shorts and even my Kanye video, and I got a lot of delusional Kanye, they're probably like fascists and Nazis in my comments, saying crazy stuff. But the reason why I didn't take it personally is not only because I know who the freak I am, but because I understand why they are saying the things they are saying. And so I guess whenever you understand why people behave a certain way, it makes you can't take it personally. You can't blame them. And I think especially since they're children, you really cannot blame them because they're taught to be afraid, like they said, of Black people. And it's the same thing with the people in my comment section. They're delusional and they're so freaking caught up in the fact that Kanye made Graduation. They just don't want to let that go, that this amazing talented man could be a freaking Nazi, or they're a Nazi themselves and they're like, why are you being mean to Nazis? You know, but I understand that they're just really insecure, delusional people, so I can't take that personally because I know where it's coming from. So that's a really important take.
And so even in America, like when I go home now, everyone says I don't act American. They're like, dude, like you act Japanese.
I was born and raised in Japan my whole life, so my mannerisms is kind of like pretty Japanese. Like, for example, if my American friends that are Black, if they sit on the train, nobody, literally packed train, nobody will sit next to them. And so I feel like,
Honestly, I would like that.
because I know the mannerisms or how to act or how to make myself small, I'm accepted
More approachable, maybe.
More fit in.
My language
That's
is different,
messed
too.
up,
In Japanese,
kind
I'm
of.
a lot nicer. In English, I'm like, yo, what's up?
That is so interesting. She said she knows how to make herself look smaller. I feel like that's kind of a bad thing, isn't it? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a cultural thing. But that kind of feels iffy a bit.
Kind of adopt those same techniques. You wanna kind of blend in somehow.
Yeah.
You said on the train, like, you know, you make yourself small.
Yeah.
In some cases, I like, you know, read a book, for example, because that makes it more approachable. So like,
No. You're fitting into being quiet. Japan, first thing they teach you, shiska. Shh. Don't talk, don't talk. But if you stop and look, do they really feel this with all the suicide rate? If you hold back everything you're feeling and you have nobody to share it to, what do the Japanese do?
Well, but Steve, you gotta understand though. At the same time, the reason why I think I understand why Aisha is like this, right?
Yeah.
Is because we're half. We have a part of us that still has to feel like we have to conform in some way because we're still half. We're a part of this country
they're two
as well.
cultures.
You know, it's a part of the culture. At least understand where our culture is from.
Maybe I'm getting it wrong, that you have to be like this here and you have to be like this here.
I do it as my first foot into, because this is they're not familiar with like a Black female American, right? So it's my foot to just like introduce myself or to talk to them like kind of like shy or just like very what's the word, apprehensively, because that's what they're used to from Japanese people. So then after they get to know me, I know where to act appropriately for each situation.
But you're saying act.
Well, yeah, we're acting.
You're saying act. Everybody's saying act. That's acting.
No, it's not a bad thing.
But I don't think that we are acting.
Yeah, we're not acting. It's just two different cultures. But it's very American to be like, this is not good. It should be more this way. It should be more. Japanese people enjoy this way.
Harmony.
And they feel comfortable in this way. This is the culture.
Yeah. That's why I was like, it sounds, the way that they're saying, they're using like act as the verb, and that reminds me of like code switching. It does feel a little iffy, but then I was like, it's probably just a cultural thing. It's just the way that they're explaining it is a little interesting, but it's probably just a cultural thing more than like a bad thing.
I will live in Japan for the rest of my life. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, she said disagree.
I think as a Westerner coming to Japan, we know we can easily see the opportunities and we jump on them because I have a different mindset. So will I stay in Japan? I'm not really sure, but I like what I'm doing and I see so much opportunity here. There's so many voids that I can fill. I think a lot of Japanese people have an idea of what Black men are like, but Black women are not seen as much. And so when I see my other Black foreigner friends here, all of us have a very similar experience. It seems more freeing for us as Black women compared to Black men. So I just hope things kind of stay the same, but I know they won't.
I just don't feel Japan as a society is a good place to raise up your kids.
Why is that?
We're coming from Africa, sometimes we don't even have the best opportunities. But in Japan, they're just flooded with so much opportunity and so much and they take that for granted.
I mean, for me, it just depends on career, I guess. If something takes off and my best opportunity is just to stay in Japan, of course I'll take it. It's not like I want to leave the place.
Right now I'm happy. I'm doing what I like. I live alone, so sometimes it's lonely. But besides that, I'm happy here. I have a lot of great friends. But to stay here forever, I don't know.
エンターテインメントってなった時にさっきお話ししたみたいにまだ日本じゃ機会が少なくてを与えた方が思ってるからこそ今は日本にいるべきじゃない時だから今ここに立ってるかな。
アイシャはずっと小さい頃から大人になるまでずっと日本に住んでて I had some great experiences working in Japan and I'm so thankful for it, but I wonder what it's like living in America. I wonder what it's like to walk down the street and not have everybody stare at me and see people that look like me and talk like me, you know?
So as a YouTuber, I get the same questions over and over and over, especially from an American audience. What is it like being Black in this country? What is the racism like? Or do you experience racism? And I think our Blackness hasn't really interfered much or hasn't gotten in the way of opportunities. But it's really difficult explaining this to my family, to my friends, to my subscribers, because they get angry saying racism does exist and they try to fight me.
So I think that's an interesting point. Part of me had the same feeling that once we're here, we're not experiencing the vitriol and color doesn't really matter. We get to exist as in our space that we chose to, and then we get to just do that and focus on that. But we also have to remember that we are kind of the exceptions to the rule, right? And so the rest of America and Black America who've probably never even left their state, who may never even leave their city. So we have to kind of have empathy, I guess, right? And then be able to explain to them what our experiences are, because that was where we were. And so we have to be able
just be charitable.
Revert back to our former selves to then be able to get them to be where we are, right?
That is kind of sad though, that a lot of Black people will never get the opportunity, because what I've heard from a lot of people, even outside this video, because I've watched a lot of videos on what it's like to be Black in Japan, and they always describe it as this freeing thing. You don't have to necessarily worry about the same things that you would in America. And I'm a lot of people, not only will a lot of Black people never get the chance to travel, but they will never get the opportunity to feel free. Oh, that's kind of depressing, but it's the truth. Is a lot of Black people will never get the opportunity to just exist. even in other countries, even in Canada, even in the UK, a lot of places, you will never get the opportunity to just freaking exist. And I'm not saying that people need to be colorblind, because that's a really weird narrative, but not necessarily that you don't want someone to know where you come from and about your culture and about you, because that is obviously about you, but you will just never get the opportunity to be a human being. You know what I mean? And that's a sad part. And that's why I think Japan is so appealing, and why for like a few years now, I've thought about like, what if I moved there? That would be kind of cool, especially when I watched like PewDiePie and he bought a house in Japan and then I think he lives there now. I was like, that would be so freaking cool to just go to Japan. And I think Japanese culture is really interesting. That's why I'm doing the Decades Challenge on it. And there are a lot of parts about Japanese culture that I really appreciate. And then obviously that freedom, like I said, that a lot of people describe. I don't think they're completely free, obviously, of the racial stereotypes and all of that. But it seems like it's miles ahead of what it would be like living in America, which is so appealing. I think that's the most appealing thing about living in Japan, is like, I can't think of anywhere else on this world where I would have that level of worry. Although the thing is about Japan, and what they haven't touched on, is that I do wonder what it's like to be a woman, because I've heard a lot about like how people like sexual assault and rape in Japan is, especially of women, is so common. And so they haven't touched on that, but I do wonder what that's like. Because I know that's a really big, especially on like trains and like public transportation, that's like a really big thing. So that's my only like holdback, is there are a few things about like Japanese society that are a little concerning in that regard. But yeah, I've thought about moving there. I don't know. I also don't know what it takes to like move to a different country, so.
I had never talked about any of this ever before. It made me realize that I wasn't alone in my experience, and that lots of other people were going through similar things.
We're all in love with this country that we live in, and all of us have found our own way. I learned a lot coming here today, which is really interesting.
So beautiful.
For a while now, I've actually felt a bit lost. I'm really grateful that I managed to meet these other people. I think this was a really important step in my journey.
Yeah, it seems like he felt really isolated in Japan, which is so interesting. Because he is a lot more passing than his other counterparts. But it seems like he felt, when it comes to dating and socializing, he still doesn't really know how to, I don't want to say conform to Japanese culture, but move within it, which is so interesting. I don't know why he in particular is having so much trouble and the others aren't.
仕事を通じて自分がいろんな役をすることで、やっぱり子どもたちに希望を与えていきたいっていうのが私の目標であり夢なので、今は女優業を通じて次の世代の子どもたちにいろんな夢を与えたいなって思います。
I want Black people in Japan to really know specifically that a lot of things that you think might be holding you back, you should challenge. It's important for you to keep pushing yourself to get to where you would want to get.
Hearing just the varying opinions was really rewarding. I want to see more diversity in Japan, and I would love to stay in Japan and help be that positive change, especially for Black women.
People need a conversation, because without a conversation, nothing changes. I learned a lot from some amazing people. And this group, wow. You guys touch my heart. Touch my heart.
No.
With our minds open and our eyes looking forward, we can focus on a lot of things that need to be changed.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
It's sad to say what I'm going to say. We don't matter right now.
In India? Black people in India?
Said the N-word.
Oh, South Korea.
Post about blackface. They canceled me
hard, drop me like a hot potato.
Oh, he was the most popular black dude in Korea, wasn't he? Oh my God, he was.
Actually said the N-word.
I know him. I don't remember his name, but this dude is the most popular. He was like the most popular black figure in Korea, and he made this post about some sort of blackface, like he sang in Korea, and then they were done with him.
Post about blackface. They canceled me hard, drop me like a hot potato.
I think he's from like Africa or something.
Every black woman is good at sex.
말하기보다는 조금 알려주면은.
I'm really interested for the Korean one, because oh Jesus, I dropped my phone. But I'm really interested in the Korean one, because from what I've heard, South Korea is pretty rough. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really enjoyed this. A little bit of education about Japan. It kind of ties into everything we talk about in this channel, and I like to think of this channel as like a little educational, you know. It kind of ties into decades. It kind of ties into my commentary, you know. It ties into everything. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Go watch Ghosts, go watch Decades, go watch, if you like Japan, watch all those things. Okay, bye.